Hi, my name is Hitendra Patel. I represent the Global Innovation Management Institute. We are honored to be part of the Global Council for Innovation Organizations because we are very excited about the opportunity of spreading innovation globally through certifications and standards. This council that we have put together will allow us to share best practices, exchange ideas between universities, between governments, between companies, between different geographies. It is the exchange of these ideas and this ecosystem that we're building that will help us close the gap and democratize innovation everywhere and improve the quality of life of every human on this planet. Good morning, Irila.
Good morning.
So welcome to the GCIO monthly webinar. And our objective with the Dubai Government Excellence Program and our strategic partners is to share innovation frameworks that can be used and shared and to accelerate innovation everywhere. Today, we've got a great speaker. This is the team that is actually driving the development of innovation management standards in the United States and ultimately worldwide through ISO. Harlan Bennett, good friend, good colleague, great innovation expert, has been working on innovation and saying, how do we make it actually a discipline? How do we make it such that every company can also do innovation? And they've been working for years, for many years, making this thing into a standard. And Harlan Bennett will be giving us those insights. So Harlan, let's get you on, and we'll give you a chance to introduce yourself in terms of what ISO does and everything else. Let's get Harlan and myself talking, please. Sharing the screen. So Harlan, first and foremost, how many years have you been doing innovation?
I've been doing the whole innovation thing for over 20 years. So mostly on the implementation side, but here within the last 5 to 10, it's been strategic and advisory type roles on the innovation. And
then within the ISO tag that you have been helping and developing all the content and the knowledge and standardizing the information, why has this community come together saying that it's important?
Well, so I mean, GIMI is an entire organization surrounding and focused on innovation management. And I think that if you look out at the global surveys and everything else, you see repeatedly that CEOs and executives within organizations see innovation as being one of their highest priorities. And yet at the same time, you hear problems and issues with the way that it gets implemented or how successful they are in actually doing it. So there's a disconnect. People realize that innovation is important. They realize that it's something that's needed, but there's still something that's missing. So we knew this. We got into the whole business of starting an organization around how to implement innovation and innovation management systems in a way that helps to do it repeatedly and reduce the risk. But we realized quickly that we needed to have partners, have people that also spoke the same language, and got involved with ISO, obviously knowing that they are a global powerhouse. And they have the ability to have reach across the world with their standards and the ability to basically get innovation integrated into organizations around the globe.
Very good. Harlan, when did your interest, we will keep this first 2 minutes kind of personal and a little closer. When did your interest start with innovation and how early did it start?
So when I first started my career, actually is when it started. I've always been, I started off with a math degree, computer science degree. I've always been interested in development and hacking and getting into systems and keeping people out of systems and the whole spiel, and realized quickly that, technology kept changing and kept pushing us forward. So innovation was sort of the route to be able to make that connection and to be able to make those changes and those updates time over time again. And it wasn't too long into the first part of my career that I realized that some people were doing it well and some people weren't, and started to capture those lessons learned mentally And those really help to form the foundations of some of the basis of the organization that I started, plus just the overall interest in helping organizations to be more innovative over time.
Harlan, where do you go to school? Colleges, location? Where are you located?
Oh yeah, I'm located just out of Washington, D.C. I didn't travel far. I grew up in a place called Fredericksburg, which is 50 miles south of Washington, D.C. I went to a little college and university down there called Mary Washington for my undergrad in math and computer science, and then moved up to Northern Virginia, closer to Washington, D.C. I only went about halfway, got about 25 miles out. And from there, went to George Washington University, which is in the city. So I've pretty much been here in the DC metro area almost my entire life.
Excellent. So for the audience, Harlan's going to be talking about innovation. For the longest time, people thought innovation was an art. And what they've been doing is converting it into a management discipline and something that can be shared, that can be learned, common framework, common language, and as a result, scalable. And it's taken years for them to get there. And they're about to launch the assessments and everything else. But I'm going to give Harlan the floor. And Harlan, we are looking for an amazing presentation because this is what everybody's looking for. How do we accelerate innovation across organizations using standards and certifications?
Yes, 100%. Yeah. All right, so I'll go ahead and just jump right on in then. So thank you all for coming out today. We are talking today about the measure of innovation. I want to make sure that we are capturing, I tried to capture as best I could the way to cultivate and highlight, really bring forward the value that you can get from innovation and innovation management. Now, you've got my bio, so I'm not gonna sit here and harp on this one very long. The one thing that I want to point out about this is here basically speaking to you as a representative of the United States Technical Advisory Group 279, charged with developing standards around innovation and innovation management. We were happy to welcome Hitendra onto the board, the members with us. So he is a new member here within this last month. So we're excited to have him and the entire backing of GIMI within our organization. We are basically charged with developing these standards in a way that we can propagate them throughout the world. For me, a little bit about my organization. Ever Evolving is basically a boutique management consulting firm. Obviously, we are focused on innovation management, but we do all of the traditional management consulting things like project management, business analysis, agile transformations, the whole gambit, but with a laser focus on the relationship between data and innovation. So we speak, we teach, we do a whole bunch of things trying to ensure that people can get the most out of their innovative efforts. Now, for today, we're going to talk mainly about a couple of different questions. And I only put 3 down here because I know we were limited in the amount of time that we have this morning. So I wanted to try to encapsulate as much of this information as possible, but at the same time, give you a general idea of the systems, the standards, the things that are out there that are helping to bring everybody together in this innovation effort. So we'll look at how do you define and measure innovation success, what challenges organizations are likely to run into or involved in when you're measuring innovation and how they can be overcome. And then the big one, one of the big ones, how can we balance short-term results with long-term innovation goals? So how do you define and measure innovation success? So before we get into figuring out what success looks like, first and foremost, if I was to ask everybody on the call today, what is innovation? I'm almost guaranteed I will get a different answer for every single person that's online. Innovation is a very misunderstood term. There's a lot of people who, when you ask them what innovation is, they think about particular technologies. They'll think about blockchain, or they'll think about AR, or they'll think about AI, obviously being a big one in the market today. Some people, when they think innovation, they think cool and new and exciting. And it can be these things, but really, innovation is all about being a new thing that creates value. If it's not creating value at the end of the day, it's an invention. You can have lots of nice, new, cool things that do awesome stuff, but if you can't translate that into something that actually brings value to an organization, it's not really innovation. And value doesn't have to be just financial. Value can be knowledge, it can be IP, it can be strategic, it can be all kinds of things. Whatever you are trying to get out of it for your organization, you just have to ensure that at the end of the day, you achieve that value. Now, when you look at innovation success, it looks very familiar. Success equals outcomes that bring value. So what is the difference between innovation success versus just plain old innovation? Well, if you are in your organization, you have set out a set of goals. You've got things that you're trying to accomplish, whether ideally, at the end of the day, obviously, revenue and profit growth is something that you're striving for if you're in a commercial organization. But there may be other goals if you're within the private sector, in the public sector, in governments, in universities. It doesn't matter where you're at, whatever those goals are, if the innovation and the value that innovation can bring brings you closer to achieving and exceeding those goals of your organization, that is what you would call innovation success. And there's a whole bunch of different ways that organizations can go about capturing and identifying whether they are actually achieving that success. And here in this modern age, a lot of people, if you're talking about product companies and that kind of stuff, new products, new services launched, that's a real quick and easy way to see if you're being innovative. New offerings, the growth that you are able to achieve through your products, the summation of all of the improvements to your processes and internal things, any kinds of business model changes or new ideas that are coming through that's helping you to take over new value, new market segments, new accomplishments within your organization. But for us, especially on the ISO committee, it's much more foundational. So we talked a little about in the intro about innovation and innovation management, where the basis of a bunch of this ISO work came from is in the thought and in the concept of innovation management systems. And before they even developed any standards, they realized with innovation management, there are a few key principles that need to be discussed and need to be rallied behind to ensure that organizations really are sort of building these fundamental skills and these muscle movements in a way that will help them to not only be able to do innovation one time and achieve value one time, but be able to do it over and over and over. So first principle in the whole concept is the realization of value. Like I said, definition of innovation, have to achieve value. The definition of innovation success, you have to achieve value. Realizing that value is what it's about. So, but you can't just realize that value, you have to have people that are looking towards the future. Your operations within an organization may be providing you daily value today, but what does your value chain and your value proposition look like in the future? If you rest on your laurels and you make enough money, there is a decent chance that somebody is going to attempt to come for some of that money. So having the ability to know what's out in the market, who your competitors are, what technologies are coming out. All of these things looking towards the future help leaders to lay the groundwork for this proper innovation management. And obviously the foundation for them is really writing down and capturing this information. So what is the strategic direction? Where are you trying to go as an organization? Well, you got to lay it out. You got to put it down on paper. You got to let people know what it is and see what it is so that they can realize the direction and the pace at which they're going to be running. Now, through this entire thing, you need organizations who are receptive to the idea of change, receptive to the ideas of new technologies, potential for failure, learning on a daily. That culture, that foundation that you build will help serve as the catalyst to drive all of your innovation efforts forward. Now, you're not doing these things in a bubble. You want to make sure that you aren't just picking the latest technology and saying, yep, that's the cool thing we want to work on today. You want to make sure that for your organization and the direction that you're trying to go and the customers that you're trying to serve, that you are meeting a need, that you are scratching an itch, that you are looking at the insights that are available for you through either through your data internal, through data outside, through any kind of market analysis or whatever other insights you can gain, that you have the ability to see those, understand what they are, and determine how those fit into the strategy of your organization. Now, through this entire process, there is a lot of risk. One of the highest problems in innovation that you hear people repeatedly say is just that uncertainty. You've got brand new technologies. You've got employees and people within the organization that may not have the full depth of knowledge and experience with some of these technologies, especially if you're right on the bleeding edge. You've never done this work before. It's new, obviously new value. So you don't know what you don't know. So having tools and the ability to whittle down your uncertainties, to minimize and manage your risk is critical to ensuring that you find repeated success and suffer less loss. Now, this doesn't just happen in a box. The world is happening around you. So things change, competitors enter the market, major world events happen, things like COVID. So the ability to adapt is incredibly important. And then tying the whole thing together is this systems approach. We think that there are so many levers to innovation that you need to be looking at it systematically so that you can pull the levers that work together so that you can maximize your innovative value at the end of the day. So this all culminated into this whole concept of an innovation management system. And anybody that's done ISO work is probably familiar with the general layout of how management systems are described and defined within ISO. Things like the context of the organization, things speaking on leadership, operations, planning, support, performance evaluations, improvement. These are common themes from a high-level structure perspective that get integrated into all of these management system frameworks. The difference here, though, is that we're specifically focused on innovation. And what I'm going to talk mainly about for the rest of the presentation is the piece in the middle, where you're talking intent to value. I want to make sure that we are honing in on the operations. Now, I don't discredit the importance of leadership. I don't discredit the importance of planning or the context in which the organization operates, the strategies and the visions and any of those kind of things that help to pull this entire system together. But I have to be realistic. When I have gone into organizations and I have worked on innovation, it hasn't been until recently that I helped them from a strategic perspective, or helped leaders to learn more about innovation, or help the people on the ground to do additional things and learn additional things about innovation, or plan. Really, where I've always jumped in as a consultant, I parachute right into the middle of the activity. It's all about operations. So that piece in the middle, the intent to the value, is really all about innovation operations. And that's where the focus of the rest of this is going to be. And I say that because the other standard that we are going to talk through and I'm going to introduce here today is ISO 56008, which is the standard for innovation operations measurements. Like I said, a lot of organizations, where they're having innovation lab and innovation hub, they're working with individual teams within the organization. They create tiger teams or whatever. People and organizations tend to jump right into action. So knowing that that's where a lot of this activity happens, we might as well talk about what the best way to capture value from those operations really is. So the next question that we'll look at: what challenges are involved in measuring innovation, and how can they become overcome? So we talked a little bit about that first one, defining X there on the left. Defining innovation, defining value, defining innovation management systems, defining your strategy, your vision, defining all of the things that are going to help you to create that foundation, that base, and where you're trying to propel yourself to. You want to make sure that all of those things are laid out. But normally, in a lot of cases, they aren't. So people have issues with the way that the innovations are done, just based on the fact that that information isn't always there readily available. Another problem that organizations run into is another obvious one. When we talk innovation, most of the time organizations start incremental. Right? It's sort of easy to look at. It's time bound. It's fixed. It's comfortable and familiar. People are used to projects, right? So a clear beginning, a clear end. The problems come in when you start looking out at 3, 5-year, 10-year horizons, and you have a general idea of where you want to go and the things that you wish to accomplish, but boy, is there a lot of uncertainty in that. So what is it going to take to get there? You know some of the first steps, but you're not even sure what the middle steps look like. And you may have an idea what it will take to wrap it up, polish it off, get it ready to go to market, but there's a bunch of squish and softness in that middle that makes these long-term prospects start to get a little scary. Another issue, looking at quantitative and qualitative metrics. Organizations are real good about ensuring that you've got, numbers, things that point you in a particular direction. And those numbers are easy to come by, especially with all the technologies that are out there. Every system, every application, everything that's in the market is spitting out some kind of number to show you are doing good things. But we deal with systems, and those systems have humans, and those humans don't have numbers, or at least not in the traditional sense. So how do you ensure that the humans in the system feel good about the work that they're doing, feel good about the things that they're accomplishing, the innovations that they're rolling out, that they're working together well as a team, that they are maximizing their value and their potential and their ability to propel the value that's in your organization? You have to have ways of capturing that data. Qualitative metrics will help you to get some of that information. And that also goes for any of the human beings that live outside of your system, those stakeholders, those customers, those partners. You want to make sure that you've got a good pulse on all of those things. Another difficulty is the dynamic and nonlinear way in which innovation processes are developed and are run within organizations. Now, ISO has a set few, but they're more foundational. We know that almost in every single case, those processes will be there. organizations will have many, many more. And then last but not least, risk and failure. As many times as an organization says that they want to be innovative and do innovation, the risks that are involved, the failures that sometimes and inevitably do happen, end up in some organizations turning innovation into a four-letter word. So what do we do to make sure that we're overcoming those challenges and any of the other challenges? We want to make sure that we've got a balance between your leading and your lagging indicators. You don't just want to know where you are today. You want to try to get some capability, some capacity to be able to see into the future and be able to have a relatively good idea where you are going and whether or not you are finding success with the efforts that you're working on. We're going to talk strategy alignment repeatedly. That's one of the most important things. We skipped past it and dove right into the middle of doing the activities, but strategic alignment, having that direction of where you're trying to go, having numbers and measurements that show that you are actually moving in that direction is going to be critical to your success. When you talk process, obviously things flow in, things flow out. The process itself has a bunch of steps. You want to make sure that you understand the value that each of these processes that you have within your innovation operations is providing the value that you expect and getting you the either the throughput or stopping the ideas that aren't going to be valuable to you as an organization early in the process and not wasting money. And that means pipeline health. That means looking at your scalability, your sustainability. All of these things are going to help you, your risk tolerance and your ability to understand what your failure acceptance is, and those numbers that really show you that you're on track. That's going to help organizations to push past that feeling of uncertainty, that fear of running into risks, into someone who's ready to hit these challenges head on and be able to adjust if they run into any problems or issues. So when we look at the graphic there in the middle, like I said, strategic is obviously important, but when I talk innovation operations, I talk innovation operations from a 56008 perspective. Innovation operations for the ISO 56008 standard is innovation processes, innovation initiatives, and innovation portfolio. So those are the concepts that we're going to hone in on right now. So from a process and measurement consideration, these are the five that are outlined in the ISO 56002 innovation management system. You have to be able to find problems in the market, opportunities for you to capture. And from those, you want to make sure that you're looking at things that aren't just immediate. Like I said, a lot of organizations start to build their innovation muscle by looking at incremental type innovations. And that's fine to get started. But in reality, the reason you're trying to build those muscles is so you can go after the big, meaty items, those radical innovations, those breakthrough innovations. So over time, your process should be allowing more of a balance between short, medium, and long-term type initiatives. The risk that comes with the short-term ones, in a lot of cases, tend to be fairly low and tend to be pretty low dollar. You do an incremental thing, you've got a small team that works on it. If you sort of miss the mark a little bit, you go back and you adjust, no harm, no foul. It just might take an extra week to get something out the door. But something that you know is going to take you multiple years to get underway, that's a little bit more scary. So you got to make sure that you've got that balance, you've got that value built in through these short-term possibilities, these medium-term possibilities, so that you can take these bigger swings and go after these more risky and long-term innovation ideas. Now, out of all of these, you obviously want to have strategic alignment, but you want to create from those ideas, you want to create your concepts. And those concepts that you're creating is the first place that you can actually realize value. And like I said at the beginning, value doesn't always have to be monetary. Value can be learning. Value can be IP. So as soon as you start going through the process of putting the bounds around the idea, start thinking through the potential ways in which you could implement your idea, you can start to learn things about that concept, and you can start to engage your clients. And you should be reaching out to the market at the time that you start putting these concepts together to start validating that they're actually something, that they're going to be something of value. That's why you can start to realize value early. You want to make sure that through that insight that you're gaining, that you're answering any open questions or as many assumptions as you possibly can, just so you know what concepts are going to be real risky and which ones are a little bit less. And it'll help you to get a better feel for that dollar value at the end of the day. And capturing all those things, your sustainability, your security, your all of the abilities. You want to make sure that those things are measured and shown in a way that shows that you're actually encapsulating them. Now, personally, I think the middle one, people have arguments all day about which of these processes are most important. The validating concepts, to me, is really sort of where the rubber meets the road. A lot of organizations will, once they've sort of created the concept, they just run past the validation piece, jump right into solutioning, get something out to market, hand it to customers, and customers go, that ain't what I want. That isn't what I need. There's no chance that I'm buying that. Validating your concepts, answering and getting answers to all or as many of the rest of your assumptions, making sure that you've got numbers, minimizing that risk to a tolerable level. You will start to see when you do these processes over and over and over again that particular categories or particular technologies will start to, you'll see a number that starts to make you feel pretty comfortable that you've got enough assurance that at the end of the day, you're going to have something that's successful. So make sure that you've got those numbers that help you to answer those questions and help you to get over those unknowns. And then any of the quality and continuous monitoring about your entire process. This sits right in the middle. This validation really is key to all of these things that you found and you think is good, and you've created and turned into something that's a little bit more touchable. This piece helps you, if you're monitoring right in the middle, you know what the outcomes were at the end for previous ideas and innovations. You know what your new ones are, and you can start to get a really good feel on whether the things that you have in place and these processes that you've laid out for your organization are effective and efficient and providing you with the things that you're looking for within your strategic plan. Now, you develop your solutions. Organizations have been doing these last two for their entire existence. This is what it's about, putting these solutions, these services, these products into practice. Some do it a heck of a lot better than others. But you want to make sure that you are, if you're looking at it from an innovation perspective, that you're looking at it from the perspective of maximizing your value, that you're maximizing your resource optimization. You're looking at re-looking at all of your IP and IPR considerations so that you're protecting your ideas and keeping your competitors from stealing your stuff. And then when you go to deploy them, you making sure, again, last time for you to look at the process, the set of processes in their entirety. Did everything work the way that you were expecting? Did you get the throughput that you were looking for? And making sure that you're doing the analysis that's going to be needed, finding those numbers, analyzing those numbers to make sure that they're efficient in getting any kind of modifications because of changes in the market or changes in technology or just happenings within the world. Now, on top of that, you have all of your processes that are there within your organization, and within those, you are executing your actual initiatives, all these innovation initiatives that are out there. So you're identifying high-risk areas to select suitable indicators and metrics to clarify uncertainties and manage your risk. You're assigning responsibility for regular and accurate measurements to maintain focus and alignment with desired outcomes. All of these things you're looking at as you're going through and doing your initiatives. And from the beginning, we talked about, input, process, output. How your initiatives interact with the processes is huge. Obviously, that's a very big driver or debilitator when it comes to being able to get these innovation efforts out the door. But at the same time, there's some unique things about them that you want to ensure that you've got covered. You're talking about balancing the complexity. But while you're balancing that complexity and measuring all of these things and looking at your initiatives, you don't want to get overboard. It costs money to measure. It costs, and more importantly, it costs money to analyze. You've got all these tools out there that will help you and spits out numbers all day long. Cool. Number. You've got programs that help you to pull these numbers together in dashboards and different views and ways to sort of see whether or not you've got a feel for whether you're going in the right direction. But are they answering the questions you need answered? So as you're going through and looking at your processes, as you're going through and you're looking at your initiatives, you need to be creating metrics and identifying metrics and measurements that will help you to answer the most important questions for you. And you want to try to do so in a way that helps to balance the cost that it takes to actually go through and do those measurements. You want to make sure that you're doing them in a timely fashion. It does you no good if you wait 6 months, a year, 2 years to look at your numbers and to see that you've gone in the wrong direction. You want to look at your numbers. Some might look daily, probably a bit much. Weekly, monthly, quarterly. Understanding what's going to help you sort of steer the ship and continue to move you in the direction of success. You want to make sure that you are doing no more than you need to when you're talking about the timing of those measurements and taking those. And you want to make sure that they are helping you to not only accomplish financial goals, but they're helping to push you in the direction of knowledge that's going to help you to be successful in the future. So showing that those measurements that are happening, showing you that the learnings are happening that would be expected. If you are moving into the cloud, you may start at the beginning of the day and have no cloud developers, nobody that has any insights into cloud. So having an idea on where you're trying to go, what you're trying to do for the future, and what it will take to actually do that from a support, from a systems perspective, is all of the measures that will help you know that you're driving towards the direction that you're hoping to go. All your performance targets, you want to make sure that you're looking at things like your ROI, your customer satisfaction, your lifespan and expansion of the applications or the services that you're putting in place, maybe even the social impacts or the environmental impacts that you have. All of these things for you as an org to tell you that you are doing good things. And then making sure that you are providing feedback and giving back to the organization, to the community, to the employees that are going through and doing all of these things on a daily. And you see all of these nice initiatives running through the middle of this graphic here, going through from intent all the way through value. Sometimes you find out that as you're going through that it's not as successful as you wanted, or it doesn't align as well with the strategy as you thought. So some of these will get all the way to the validation step, to the develop step, and you'll realize this really isn't for us. We shouldn't be doing this. And ideally, you have found it as soon as you possibly can. And you're able to stop this with the minimal amount of waste as possible. But sometimes factors are out of your control. An example, I worked for a client in 2019 into 2020. And we worked on a multi-year thing. This was an innovation, a 5-year innovation effort. They were moving from on-premises into the cloud, and they were taking a huge swing at a new technology in the cloud. So not only were they learning how cloud worked, understanding the regulatory environment related to cloud, they were betting on a huge initiative at the same time. And in that huge initiative, they had a reward system, and that reward system was geared for travel. It was going to be amazing. They were going to capture the entire market with this travel benefit. And they were right on the verge of getting us out the door. 2019, we're out there, we're putting the solution together. January, I've got a trip planned to go out to Abu Dhabi and Dubai to teach a course on innovation methods and tools. I come home and the entire world shuts down. COVID hit. And all of a sudden, that travel value and that travel benefit didn't seem to make much sense. So good thing is they had foundationally created something that would allow them to make adjustments, but they had to take something that literally was in that last phase. They were within a month, they were going to deploy something out the door to market. And they had to go back to the concept stage and make sure that that rewards cycle and that rewards benefit that they were planning to offer was going to meet the needs of the new world after COVID. Now, how do we balance these short-term results with these long-term goals? You want to make sure that you're grouping these things together. You want to make sure, again, clarifying your why, looking at that strategy, but you want to allocate the resources to not only be able to capture these short incremental things, you want to be able to put the numbers and the money in place to be able to go after these long-term efforts. And if you can gain enough money, gain enough value, gain enough momentum in some of these shorter and medium, less risky initiatives, it gives you the ability to, like I said earlier, to take those bigger swings and go after those bigger efforts. And you want to make sure that you're delivering quickly. The quicker you can get things into market, not only can you capture additional market share, capture additional revenue, but you're capturing that knowledge, that data, that information about the consumer. That has become gold in this day and age. Understanding what your consumer is doing, what your consumer is interested in, and where they're trying to go is what is allowing the Facebooks and the Googles and the Apples of the world to put out new product that everybody stands in line for 3 days to go purchase. If you really know where people are trying to go, you have a real decent chance of being able to pull down some additional revenue. But you're trying to balance. You want to make sure that you've got percentage of concepts that are within the short term, within the long term, that are incremental or transformative, or looking at it from that long-term perspective, that you're going into a new market, a new technology, and you may not have the skills on hand today, but need a plan to make sure that you bring those skills on board over time. So to pull all of these pieces together, you want to look at it from a portfolio perspective. And I like to relate this to a 401k portfolio. You've got all these individual ETFs and stocks and everything that sort of live within your portfolio. Some go up, some go down, some dramatically. Some tech companies go up 100% and then drop. Or we could talk crazy and go into crypto and talk about wild swings of 100 with 100, 200, 300, 400% in a day and losing that much the next day. The idea is to create that mix, that balance. At the end of the day, you want to maximize the potential value that you can get at the end of the day. That's going to mean taking on some risk, some short-term risk, some long-term risk, bringing on things that are going to look for a short-term and long-term perspective. But you need to make sure that you're doing that in a way that, similar to a 401k, helps you to find that collective balance. You want to be gaining the efficiencies, all the efficiencies that you can. So everything from the types of technologies that you end up ultimately picking that are common between all of the different initiatives that are running within your portfolio, the types of processes that you're putting in place, the business models that you are accomplishing or trying to accomplish at the end of the day, all of that needs to integrate into a package.
Harlan,
Yes.
we're going to be about 15 minutes before we have to wrap. So maybe about 2 or 3 minutes to close up, and then we can have some Q&A if that's okay.
Yeah, this is it. So
All right, perfect.
just looking at it from the portfolio perspective, you want to make sure that you are looking at all of those measures and those metrics: past innovation rate success, current innovation engagement, innovation proficiency, partner collaboration. As you're looking across the entirety of all of the efforts that you're working on, finding ways to maximize those synergies between all the components and pieces, all those initiatives that are running through, all of those processes that live within it, to making sure that at the end of the day, you are maximizing and capturing the highest amount of innovation value you possibly can. So with that, I'll leave it to questions.
That's perfect, Harlan. Thank you very much. We've got about 10 minutes of Q&A, and we'll get some questions from the audience, which will show up in the chat. Let me begin with this. I mean, Harlan, when you look across everything that you talked about, it's a CEO's role. It's a CEO's role to be able to manage all the things: strategic direction, strategic focus, making sure resource allocation happens for all the things that's supposed to happen, and all of that. And the CEO is very busy. How is this going to be assigned to a chief innovation officer, like a chief marketing officer and a chief quality officer? How do you expect the CEO to manage the present and create the future?
That's a fantastic question. So it depends on how you wish to handle it, right? Some organizations have created roles for chief innovation officer. Somebody's explicitly focused on the future and the future value that innovations can bring. Some organizations, they do leave that up to the CEO. Some organizations, think smaller organizations, think the more nimble, think people like Google, the Googles and the Facebooks of the world. They're looking at a more dynamic model. They're not even looking at the CEO making these decisions, the teams.
Right.
As long as the CEO thinks that the value potential is there, they turn it over to the team. It's up to you to do these. So
Harlan, I want you to stop for a second, because we got lots more questions we want to ask you, but we're going to pause for a message from our sponsors.
Cool.
30 seconds.
المجلس العالمي للمؤسسات المبتكرة مجلس فريد من نوعه، يمثل مؤسسات عالمية من مختلف قارات العالم. هذه المؤسسات مختصة بالابتكار وبدعم الابتكار وبتعزيز ثقافة الابتكار في المؤسسات وفي الجهات الموجودة في مختلف هذه الدول. المجلس بيكون له دور كبير في دعم تبادل ونقل المعرفة ونقل الابتكارات الموجودة في مختلف قارات العالم ومختلف المؤسسات الموجودة على مستوى العالم، ودعمها وتأثيرها ونقلها للمؤسسات الموجودة سواء في دبي وفي دولة الإمارات أو على مستوى الدول المشاركة في هذا المجلس. برنامج دبي للتميز الحكومي يعتبر أحد الأعضاء المؤسسين لهذا المجلس، والبرنامج كان له دور وباع كبير في دعم الابتكار والمبتكرين على مدى 20 سنة الماضية، من خلال المبادرات اللي يقدمها، من خلال الفئات الموجودة في جائزة برنامج دبي للتميز الحكومي. البرنامج له دور كبير في هذه المبادرة، وسيدعم الابتكار والمبتكرين وثقافة الابتكار على المستوى المحلي وعلى المستوى العالمي، وسيساهم في نشر كل الإنجازات وكل الابتكارات الموجودة على مستوى دبي للعالم بأسره.
Harlan, let's get back to the meat of the question now.
Sure.
Many entities want to start the journey of getting certified around this framework that you shared. And where are we today with ISO in terms of real certification, audits, assessments, and all that? Can you give us a roadmap?
Yeah, sure. So I'll try to be quick so we can answer as many questions as possible. So 56002, Innovation Management Systems Guidance. That standard has been out since 2019. There are organizations out there today. IOIP, who merged with GIMI not too long ago, was one of the organizations that was looking at ways to standardize organizations around that standard. Some of the standards organizations that people are familiar with, BSI, they have a kite mark with the 56002 standard. There are organizations out there right now that are certifying organizations to the guidance standard. We are within months on the verge of finishing 56001, which is the certification standard for innovation management systems. So if you have 9001, if you have information management system standards, quality management system standards, sustainability management system standards, whatever management systems you are doing that have an ISO certification today, the organizations that do those certifications for you within the next few months will get this new 56001 standard, and we'll start rolling that out as another offering for people to get certified in an innovation management system.
Perfect. So Harlan, at this moment, organizations like yours could help companies kind of get prepared for the official certification already through the guidance documents of and getting to the certification. So companies can start now.
Yes.
Companies can start now to say what is going to come out as the official certificate, but the guidance documents have come out about, and there are a set of organizations which know what those outputs are going to be. So it's better for you to start working now with companies like yours so that they can say we are ready in 2 months or 3 months or 6 months when the official things will come out. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. So the process, if you haven't set up a management system, having all of your information captured, having all of your employees know where that information is, having your leadership on board with the direction, getting your strategies written down, all of the detailed pieces of what it would take to put this full system together takes time. So you can go through the process of buying the guidance standard, learning what those things are, see what the thought was when all of those were put together, the best practice for what it is. And you'll realize quickly that you probably have a lot of it, but there may be some pieces that are missing. So starting to incorporate those and pull those in helps you be ahead of the curve. And by the time 4 months, 6 months from now, when 56001 is available to the market and certification organizations are ready to certify orders to it, you'll already be ready to go right out of the gate. I've got a couple of clients right now that are actually going through that very process.
Wonderful. Now, so certain guidance in terms of size of companies, where will it be easy to get certified versus you're too small, or is it by business unit? So can you give us a scope of what companies are ideal for the ISO at this moment, and what companies might have a tough time to get that certification, but they can still benefit from the guidance documents and the coaching which goes with that?
Sure. It was designed for everybody. I'll say that right there. So small to large, government to commercial, it doesn't matter. It was designed for everybody. It reads very much large company. Just be frank, right? To your point, the guidance that's in there will help small organizations. You have to understand that the way that you run it, that you tailor it, a lot of it talks about, leadership creating all of these things, and they're going to have visions and all this kind of stuff. And if you're in a small organization, one of the companies I work with right now is a small consulting firm. The CEO has said, I should be the last to know what's happening within my company. That's a weird take for somebody to have, but she puts all of the trust, all of the value creation down to her employees. So they are empowered to go out and do these things. So when you read it, you'll read, well, the CEO or the chief innovation officer, they're providing this stuff. Well, shift the paradigm a little bit. If you're empowered to do these things at the ground level, do them. Create these visions, create that direction, work with your partners, your teammates, and figure out where you're trying to go. Put all the parts together to basically lift yourself up. And if you follow the things that are there in the standard, you will have the foundation to be able to go out and get that certification as well.
One last question on the standard still is, how does the US tag ISO standards actually deploy globally into the other countries, will there be one global standard or will there be standards different for each country?
Yeah, so the way that the standard process works, there are some countries that put together their own national standards. Some were ahead of the ISO standards that got put out, the guidance standard. Some went in and adopted the ISO guidance standard as their national standard. So it's a mix. Some people will just use what's there and they'll say that that's good for them nationally. Some will do their own thing. For the US, we are focused on this international standard. We are working with our US partners, so specifically the American National Standards Institute, ANSI, to try to adopt ISO 56002 and probably ISO 56001 as the national standard related to innovation management systems.
Very good. I'll take a plug for a second just to help the audience over there. If anybody wants the ANSI standards and the guideline documents, you can go to the GIMI bookstore. GIMI has got a partnership with ANSI to actually distribute those particular documents. And so you can download them now and start reading them and getting ready. And once you understand what they are, reach out to people like Harlan, reach out to other organizations to saying, how do I get myself to the next level? And that's the journey that you need to be on. We are 1 minute from wrapping up. Harlan, stick around. I just want to allow for those who have to leave at 10 o'clock, we let them leave. Okay. Sure. So I would like to say first and foremost, thank you very much for everybody who has looked into this particular webinar. This is the Global Council for Innovative Organizations. Our objective is to identify frameworks globally which can allow you to scale innovation. Today, we had a fantastic speaker from ISO and his own innovation management consulting firm who has been working on this standards body for the last 10 years for the United States of America. And that ANSI standard will hopefully go global very soon. And it's in our interest to do that. So first, I'll give you a chance to say one sentence or maybe 30 seconds, guidance, advice to the audience out there.
Get started. Pull it together. Think about it systematically. Innovation is the way to go. You innovate. If you don't innovate, you'll get left behind. So make sure you're looking to innovate. And thank you, Hatendra. Thank you, Jimmy, for allowing me to come out today and speak on this topic.
Very good. Harlan, thank you very much. For everybody who has to go,